versus realities. India, myths versus realities. Over to you, Shrishti Kukreja.
Hi everyone, a very good afternoon or good evening to all of you, depending on whether you've had lunch or no. I can see a lot of people at the back. Can I hear a little bit of a energetic applause or a hoot from all of you at the back? Come on, a little bit more, this side on the right. Yeah, because I feed off energy from other people. I'm almost like an EV, I'll be very honest. I need the current or the electricity from all of you so that I can have energy myself. First of all, I would like to thank EV Reddy for giving me this opportunity to host this panel today as a moderator. I'm really excited to hear in depth from all of these lovely gentlemen about where we are as far as concerned. I know you were asked questions as to what are your concerns about EV. I completely hear you. I'm planning to get an EV myself, so range anxiety, will the battery last long, how much does it cost, are all questions that are in all of our heads, and we'll try and answer that today in as much depth as possible, but we will keep it simple and we will keep it very, very fun. A little bit about me before we go. So as I've already been introduced, I run Gen E. Our tagline is, hi, we are Gen E, we tell sustainable stories. I'm Srishti. I've been a journalist, and now I think with sustainability being such an important aspect of where we are as a country today, it's very important to adopt to cleaner energy and to cleaner mobility, which is why I feel an expo like this is really, really important today as compared to probably 10 years back, right? And we are at such a challenge space because the EV industry is ever so evolving, and we'll see how we go, but I have a lot of hope that as India, we are going to be going way ahead in this particular ecosystem. So without taking any more time, I'm going to jump straight into this. Okay, so my first question actually is for Gyana sir, because we were having a little bit of a chit chat backstage, and you told me that you have an EV yourself, right? So just from a very consumer perspective, tell us, why did you switch and how's it going for you?
Thank you, Srishti. My name is Gnana Kumar. I run an organization called Requisimus. We are into EV consulting. We help companies to build components that goes into the EV, including motor design, everything. Now, coming to my own journey, I worked in the corporate world till 2018, and then I switched to doing my own entrepreneurship. During this journey, from 2018 to 2020, for 3 years, I drove 50,000 kilometers, and every time my fuel bill on a month was about 30,000 rupees. So then I realized I should do something to reduce my fuel bill. That's when in 2022, I bought Hyundai Kona. So the reason why I switched is because, as I told you, for moving to paying 30,000 bill was heavy on my pocket. So when I switched to EV, automatically the second thing that I also did as a EV enthusiastic myself, I installed solar panel onto my home, which really helped me to make my running cost zero. Right, my running cost became zero because I installed solar panel, and then after that, first I bought EV. After that, I installed within a month solar panel. So technically, now I run EV on zero cost. Some maintenance that I do, last month I got my maintenance bill of 2,000 rupees. So this is the advantage of moving towards EV, and I recommend EV for people who at least drive 40 to 60 kilometers per day. It's not for the people who are driving maybe 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers per day, because there is no ROI for a four-wheeler. Yes, for two-wheeler you have ROI. We'll debate that separately. But for a four-wheeler, my recommendation is at least you should drive 40 to 60 kilometers. But I drive 100 kilometers, so I recover my ROI. So I'll stop here and then maybe if you...
No, but what I found super interesting is that, you actually completing the whole circle, right? So he has solar panels, so the energy is coming for free. You can also install a battery energy storage system, also called as a BESS, which means that even after daytime, your energy gets saved and you can use clean charge your EVs and go into clean mobility, right? So it's not just great for the wallet, which it is, but it's also great for the environment, right? But going a little bit into ROI, right? Let's speak a little bit about this because I think the people would, love to know more about it. From your experience, you said that there has to be certain kilometers that we should drive for the ROI to make sense, right? Could you give us a little more in depth, and then maybe I'll come to you, Vivek, for that.
See, when I wanted to buy EV, my thought process, I'll tell you. I was choosing between hybrid and EV, and at that time high rider was 19.5 lakhs, but on-road price was 24 lakhs. 5 lakhs was your tax. When I compared with Hyundai Kona, it was 23.5 lakhs. On-road price was 23.5 lakhs. So obviously I went for because that's the first ROI that I say I did not pay the tax.
Right.
Road tax. I still pay tax, but I'm telling I did not pay the road tax. Yeah. That was one of the reasons why I shifted to EV. And from an ROI perspective, what I feel is, as I told, if you're driving minimum 60 kilometers, it really makes a lot of sense. You will recover your investment, because if your regular car Creta would be 16 lakh and your EV costs you now, the same Creta electric would cost you 25 lakhs. So the difference is 8 lakhs. How do you recover that 8 lakhs? If you at least save 3 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees per year on your fuel bill, then within 4 years you're already back into...
True.
Only thing, then they will talk about battery. Now people are moving towards battery as a service, which will really solve that problem as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to get both of you into this as well, right? I was walking across the expo today, and to sort of see that there's not much difference in terms of the vehicle quality or anything of that sort, right? Like all the mainstream SUV models, electric versions as well, which means the comfort is the same, if not better, right? What are your thoughts on the comfort of having an EV?
Hello. I think before getting into the comfort and the ROI, I would like to discuss on the myths, right, with the topic also. I think one of the major myth is, which many of them pointed out, is safety, right? And there is a myth saying, okay, battery vehicle and an electric vehicle is not more safe. So which is actually a myth, because compared to ICE engine, right, the number of issues or concern raised with ICE engine is lot more and very few in terms of battery. And then also from a safety and regulatory angle, right, there is a lot of initiatives taken by government and regulators to ensure that whether it is an electric vehicle or the charging infrastructure, from a safety and security angle, all this are taken. Coming to your question, Srishti, on the look and feel, and if you see the ICE engine vehicles and the vehicles older to that were more mechanical, right? And then it was more about machine mechanical, but today's vehicle is more software, right? And the electric vehicle is more and more of software, and it is no longer it is more like it's more like a phone, right? So where your phone is connected and then your phone is running on a software. Similarly, your vehicle is connected and then it's running on a software.
Yeah,
and today's consumer is more interested about what is that I'm getting out of this car. Of course, I can drive. What are the other features? What are the other like including ADAS and other features, comfort, and it is more now car. From being more a transport, it's becoming more comfort, right? Where EV plays a larger role, because the kind of comfort which an EV can offer in terms of space and many other aspects is much more than an ICE engine. And then of course we don't need an engineer, we only need a motor, and still you get a additional space where you can use. So these are some advantages, but I would say, like from an adoption standpoint, some of the myths are broken, and even our PwC survey says that globally as well there is an increase of around 30% in terms of 28 to 30% in terms of electric vehicle uptake, right? And even in Indian market, we see a lot of uptake in two-wheeler and three-wheeler, right? I'm sure from a commercial vehicle also it's increasing, and it will increase more, right?
Absolutely. You made a very interesting point, right? You spoke about how the technology is so ever evolving, and I feel like every time I try and do a test drive, something that was there 6 months back is obsolete, and now you have something very new. So in a way, cars do give you FOMO just like phones, right? But Harsha, I would like to get you into this now, because he made a very interesting point about the importance of software in EVs as a whole, right? So of course we look at the features, we look at the body, we look at the color, we look at the material the seat is made of, but what is it about the software that we should actually be looking into and does it play?
Thank you. Ellargu namaskaralu. Are you able to hear me correctly? Thank you. Let me introduce myself before I answer that topic. I work for a French organization named Dassault Systems. So what we do here is the cars and the trucks and the scooters and the motorcycles you see here, ground up from a bolt to a nut to a battery to the integration, including the software and the electronics, is designed using Dassault Systems tool sets primarily. So we are the design and innovation and technology partner for almost 95% of the electric vehicles you see either in India or in abroad, starting with Mahindra, or it is Tata Motors, or it is with Hero MotoCorp for that matter. And even as basic as River Mobility and every other startup in Bangalore is potentially leapfrogging with this kind of technology. Is Toyota. That technology is available at a fraction of a cost today on a cloud SaaS-based platform for many of these OEM and startups in Bangalore. So that's one of the reasons I always say that what used to take for 5 years for developing a new scooter, which we used to buy with Bajaj and earlier days, now it is coming out in less than 10 months, a new scooter, is because developing of a new scooter is becoming like developing of a new mobile phone. That's exactly what Vivek was referring to. The interesting aspect of tech, I will spend a little bit of time on that. An internal combustion engine, which is a diesel or a petrol scooter or a car mostly, has roughly around 10,000 parts. 10,000 parts. It typically takes on an average 3 to 5 years to develop that, every part ground up in terms of sketching, detailed engineering, making sure that they work in all possible conditions, or it is in desert in Rajasthan or in Kerala where there is monsoon. There's a lot of testing which goes behind in making sure that this is safe enough for all of us to drive. The switch now with EV has become a little bit easier from a mechanical aspect of it, because as Vivek was referring to, it is switching from mechanical oriented vehicles to computer on a wheel. Actually, there are 2 gigabytes to 5 gigabytes of software in many of these vehicles which you see here. And more importantly, we see that now these are connected vehicles, as Vivek was referring to. It means there is a SIM card constantly sending out, a chip sending out the data for you. So on a high-end car, you will see more than 17 to sometimes even 25 ECU, which actually controls the various electronics aspect of the scooter or a car, actually. So more importantly, where I'm going right now is the complexity has actually in fact reduced in terms of making this vehicle. But whereas the complexity is increased is because of the mechanical, instead of mechanical, the complexity has come for software and electronics. Because when you put together mechanical parts, a set of software, vehicle architecture with ECU and things to work together, anything could go wrong, right? So as I was talking to Srishti earlier, there are more than around 5,000 tests which needs to be done in a physical scooter or a car before it's really sent to ARAI for testing and finally it reaches to the dealer like you and me. We go and pay and money buy. So a lot of people in the background do this testing, verification, and validation in the various environmental conditions, in heat, in water, in all sorts of slippery. EV car, for example, is the dynamics of the vehicle will change. I mean, if you observe the driving, when you drive a normal diesel engine car and an EV car, you see that the battery is underneath where you're sitting, below your seats. So, but as an engine, it is in the front boot of the car, right? What is the difference? From a real mechanical point of view, if you're driving in a highway with 100 km per hour, the balancing of the car is different because the engine is in the front. But the EV, the weight is underneath you. So the CG, center of gravity, as we call it as, is under your driving. So you will observe that the way you will drive and the turn, you will see a different experience altogether. Because we need to make sure that your car is not rolling over if the electric vehicle you're driving when compared with the IC engine. Because as a driver, you will not know. So rest assured for the people who are buying that the amount of testing and validation, the investment which goes behind in making sure that it is safe, reliable. I think we're at the verge of almost at the maturity of a typical diesel engine or a petrol car right now as it is. I think that should give confidence to buyers like, Gnana, as he said, which really, gives them the confidence, not only from a total cost of ownership, but also from a perspective of tech which goes behind making the car. I hope it made sense.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And now that also brings me to my next question, right? I'm a Bengaluru Hudgi, by the way. So I, of course, travel all the way from Whitefield to Jairagar to Indiranagar. And one thing that I've observed is that there are a lot of...
Because he ended up with the software, since I work in the software, I'll just tell. All BMW cars has about 150 control units, or close to that. In a modern car or the software defined vehicle which we are all now talking about, you will have only 4 ECUs. So it has reduced from multiple 150 ECUs to 4 ECUs, which are all high computing. It's almost like a what you call quantum processor sitting in. It's not quantum, but I'm a multi-core processor sitting in it. So that is one element which we are seeing change. Then the second, you asked about the comfort part of it. Being a driver by myself, driving an EV, as he told, there are no parts, there are no moving parts. So obviously there is no noise. Even if I drive 100 kilometers, after I go back home, I never feel tired. I have never felt tired after driving 100 kilometers in Bangalore road. That's the beauty of driving an EV.
Okay, just one quick observation. So I came across one of the stalls which actually has a device that will create noise in your EVs, because now that's a new recommendation from the
aware of that
government,
technology
yeah.
also. The reason why is because of the fact that since it's noiseless, people want to hear the sound.
Yeah.
It's called avas.
Avas, yes.
Yeah. So
And it's
avas
for pedestrian safety as well, I guess, so that people are aware.
It's called
Yeah.
acoustic
Correct.
platform.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But coming back to the safety aspect of it, especially in software, right? I see a lot of these unbranded bikes. It's been one of my observations on the roads, right? Sometimes they don't even have a number plate. So as consumers of EVs ourselves, how important is it to choose the right brand? Could you speak to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very important question. So for all of us who are consumers, I think he brought out very nice. Instead of buying a car or a bike mostly for going from point A to point B now, the purchase of a vehicle has become an extension of your identity. I buy iPhone, I buy Samsung, I buy something. So we extend ourselves, our personalities, our egos to what we buy. That's moving now from mobile phone to cars, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because people want to then show that I buy a new kind of vehicle, and it has become an extension of it. The point I'm trying to make is that it's good to have what we call as a perceived quality purchase decision to a new car or a scooter or a bike. you just feel like, wow. What are you observing there is the styling. The style or the external class A surfaces of a high-end car or a nice, shape, aerodynamic shape in a car. It looks good for you and you make instantaneous decisions in that. Cautious there. Style is not everything. What you got to be really cautious about is whether this particular OEM or a startup has taken enough time to do testing of the battery. What kind of battery pack are they giving you? What is the range of it? What kind of charger are they giving you? Is it a standard charger or is it a custom charger? Are they really linking you to only their perceived, only for their charging station and the of taking the battery as a service and the charging also? So all these factors potentially do a trade-off as such, because you may like the surface quality, but you may not like the the battery performance. Then the range comes. Then how many years you need to change the battery for every 3 years, because that's an additional cost you need to think about. And lastly, also the connectivity with regard to whether you can charge it inside home or you need a special transformer for that particular aspect, or all sort of aspects as such. Last but not least, look at the certification, because many people are going with companies where the battery pack today looks Indianized, but sometimes the cells are coming from, I don't want to name a country, from places where it is not tested well. So you're risking your life if I have to tell you in a literal sense. The pack and the battery pack are under the scooter where you're sitting. I'll take a pause. What does it mean? It means the battery pack is radiating electromagnetic charge continuously out for 6 hours, 8 hours. Safety, there's no firewall of that particular part, so that to protect you and your body parts, you're risking yourself with this whole radiation coming out of these products as such. So essentially keep in mind that the product which you're buying has done enough testing. Has it gone through the cycles of ARAI certification? And they have Indian. And then you have a surety that the battery pack will be repurposed or changed with a warranty every 3 years, so that you're not taking a cost on that which is almost at the cost of a full vehicle. So make your study and then you do a trade-off analysis. And then the last but not least is the total cost of ownership. Also, the important point is to really analyze if you're driving 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers to a particular school and then keep your scooter in the bay, it might not work out for you. So as he says, basically, analyze that if you're driving 60 kilometers to 100 kilometers a day, how much you're spending in the petrol for that particular vehicle, convert that with the initial cost and then the associated various maintenance costs, then make your choices as such. So I think I enumerated the perceived quality, the real quality, and the trade-offs is absolutely critical before you make your choices of going ahead with that.
No, thank you so much for that, Harsha. That was a very good point that you made. Sorry, yes.
I just want to add to what you said, and especially on the safety aspects of the software, just like our mobile phones can be remotely accessed, right? So since vehicle is becoming more and more software, remotely accessed. So there is something from a software perspective, what we call it as VOTA, over the air updates. So you receive updates to your phone. Similarly, your car receive updates. So there are a lot of regulations on this safety aspects, and especially United Nations has come up with R155, R156 from a road vehicle safety, and even India has adopted AIS 118 and 190. More from a safety and consumer point of view to protect the consumer. Without the certification, right, the vehicle is not approved to go on the road. So there is a lot of checks and safety rigor happens before the actual vehicle comes on the road. So that's the point I just want to add.
No, thank you to both you gentlemen, because you've pointed out something that's really important from a consumer point of view, right? Because safety is not just about the superficial safety aspects that we speak about, but it's so inbuilt in our softwares and where the battery is placed, etc. And I think that's why I shout out to EV Ready, because I think expos like these can actually start these conversations, make consumers a bit more aware as to what are some of the aspects that they should really look out for their own safety, and what would be the best choice, not just for their wallets, but also, you know, for their health, right? So that's really important. So I think once again, a huge round of applause for EV Ready for making these conversations possible and empowering consumers like yourselves to actually go to these brands and ask them, like, what are the safety features that you're giving us to protect us, right? Coming back to you, what do you think about battery degradation, right? Because that is one of the, we also heard people voice out today, and it's a concern that I speak to many people, they think about this, right? Again, there are a lot of myths around it and there's a lot of noise, but I think we are here to separate the knowledge from the noise. So I'd love to hear you speak a little bit about the battery aspect of it. Like, its life. As a consumer, what can I do to extend the life of that battery, and is degradation really an issue?
I think, thank you, Srishti, for bringing up this question. And one of the myths which is there in the market is about battery degradation and also the battery range, right? There is a lot of range anxiety, and I mean, one from a battery degradation perspective, if you see for a lithium-ion battery, there is hardly like 1 to 3% of degradation per year, right? And it's very minimum. And even if you see some of this fleet, the good thing is EV is maybe new to India, right? Maybe new, we are relatively new compared to the global market, but there is a lot of study which is already published globally, because globally there are a lot of consumers who have been using EVs for many years, and there's a lot of study, and then the study clearly indicates that the fleet owners were using electric vehicles for commercial vehicles, right? For even for transportation like bus or trucks, they are, in terms of battery degradation, is very, very minimum, less than 10 to 20% over the years. And another important aspect is to cover this aspect as well from a consumer standpoint of view. A lot of OEMs now are giving standard 8-year to 10-year warranties on the battery, right? Right. So they are giving 8-year warranties. Some of them are offering 5-year, 10-year warranties to give that comfort to the consumers, saying, okay, so you can go for electric vehicles. And from a range anxiety perspective, the charging infrastructure, right? So I was meeting one of the OEMs, the CEOs. I was asking him, when will the charging infrastructure be on part of the global? He said, if you guys start buying, it will automatically improve. So it's kind of interrelated. If we start buying more electric vehicles, there is a lot of consumption. The charging infra also will eventually improve, because there are more users to it, and there is a lot of competition to it.
Yeah. No, you know what was heartening for me today walking around these expo is also to sort of see the last mile delivery options, the commercial vehicle options, right? Which means that it's just not just for commercial use, right? It's not just for consumer use. Also from a commercial scale, the switch that we are seeing in India when it comes to EVs has just been heartening. India, I think, does have a goal to switch to 30% EVs by 2030, and I think we are accelerating, pun intended, towards that. But I think battery as a subscription is also a term that's really catching on right now, right? Is that a good option for consumers to go for?
No, I think it's a very valid point, because the core cost component in the whole EV buying is battery. So if you remove that as a pain point, then the adoption becomes easier. People might, embrace it much faster. Is the notion behind this whole concept of battery as a service. Some companies have started off this already. They are in production on this particular topic, but battery as a service will kick in and will go much faster if there is a standardization from the government of India around battery as a service. Today, there is no norm. It is exclusively to a particular OEM. If he decides to offer that, that is how it's kicking in. Uh, but essentially what I really feel is today from a, as you rightly said, from a B2C to we are switching to B2B, where people either, were delivering goods like Amazon or Flipkart, they are the buyers, number one. Then obviously the people in Swiggy, Zomato, they are into electric. And the next leg which we are seeing is fleet, the last mile fleet in terms of delivery from the warehouse towards a set of distribution points, what we call as is another leg. And many people ignore today that India is one of the country where 95% of even trains run on electricity as well. That's huge as well. So more and more I really feel things will move into a multi-model setup. What do I mean by that is we will go into not only as a battery as a service, but whole mobility as a service, which is, I can buy a subscription and I will have set of operators in the future who will give me an option to take a scooter, drive from home to a metro station, keep that, then I ride a metro, then probably I take a car from the next metro station to my office and, take that entire thing as a subscription without worrying about whether I am driving a scooter or I am going for a metro or I am taking a car. So this is the future in many embrace eventually, because the tipping point there is people will start seeing the comfort factor, because you don't own anything. You're using all sort of service basis your comfort factor and your cost is very low as well. So that's a new journey we will see where mobility from battery as a service, we will evolve as a mobility as a service. For that, governments have to really partner with OEMs and supply chain and charging stations to make this more citizen friendly, if I may put it in that manner, because that is the true shift towards more using the public infrastructure rather than every one of us buying a new vehicle also.
Yeah, and maybe I think if
I'll only add from a consumer, because I drive range anxiety. I think everybody will have the range anxiety part. In the last 2.5 years of my EV journey, I had only 2 times. But why I'll tell you that range anxiety it came in. One, because we drove we knew that I knew my car had 200 kilometers. But I also knew I need to drive only 150 kilometers. But since I had that extra buffer, we drove purposefully extra. Because that when you see in EV, you need to be a what you call you should understand it's not like an IC engine. So there is a difference. So in EV, what we should as a consumer, what we should know is how the whole motor and the battery works. We should know. As a consumer, we should know. In eco mode, you should not drive, in a car eco mode, you should not drive more than 80 kilometers per hour. If you drive more than 80 kilometers per hour, obviously you are consuming more battery power. Same the case in two-wheeler, you should not drive in eco mode more than 40 kilometers per hour or 50 kilometers per hour. If you do that, what really happens is, it consumes more battery. Because the motor is designed in such a way that you have torque speed curve. I will not get into the technical part of it, but motor is designed in such a way that only in certain mode it consumes efficiently power. If you drive at high speeds, then the efficiency drops. Efficiency drops means more battery consumption. So we, as a consumer, we have to understand that in EV you should not drive. In eco mode, you should drive at certain speed. You need to be educated. You should be an educated driver. When you become an educated driver, automatically, I see that EV will be easy to drive, or you will have passion to drive EV. And next vehicle, you will buy EV only.
I think for a lot of the aspiring entrepreneurs here, they need to speak to Harsha, and for a lot of EV owners, and to be EV owners, they should speak to Gyanasa after this and take as much information as possible about this. I'm going to open this to the audience really, really soon, but before that, I have 1 or 2 questions. You want to say something? Okay. Before we wrap up, right, since you've been driving an EV for, how have you seen the charging points and areas of those evolve over a period of time? How accessible it is to charge your EV now in a public space, now as compared to a few years back? And where do you sort of see that going as we go ahead?
Definitely, charging infrastructure is improving. I'll give an example. I drove to Chennai from Bangalore. It was 350 kilometers. My car gives 400 kilometers. On that particular day, since I drove in eco mode, I got 430 kilometers range while going to Chennai. While coming back from Chennai, I thought I'll charge somewhere in between, and then this was about a year back. I literally had 2 charging stations not working. It was in the brink of a moment. I also thought, okay, in Vellore, I will stay overnight and come the next day. But luckily, the hotel where I went had a nice charger. I got it charged within 1.5 hours and I was back home. But now, this was about 1.5 years ago. But now I have seen the charging infrastructure has dramatically improved in this highway. So that I see a positive outcome. But again, standardization has happened. Since I work in the standardization committee also, standardization also has happened across this charging infrastructure. But I see there is still scope for improvement in the standardization, especially if I go to a Shell petrol bunk, I have to have a different app. If I go to an Indian Oil petrol bunk, I have to have a different app. So my challenge is always installing multiple apps to do my charging. So if we can standardize it into a single app is what I would prefer as a consumer.
Startup idea, again, I'm telling you, we need to speak to this panel for startup ideas. That's amazing. Okay, before we end, I think we have a lot of young people over here, right? So I'm going to speak from a very career perspective, and Vivek, you haven't spoken, so let's start with you in this session. What do you think from a career perspective as far as the EV ecosystem is concerned, right? From an entrepreneurship or somebody who's starting their career and wants to get into the EV space, what do you think?
I think even EV space has opened up a lot of new career opportunities, just like how AI has opened a lot of new opportunities, right? There are new career opportunities from an EV standpoint. One, there is a lot of embedded programming and embedded software development because vehicles are becoming more and more software, and how the new features or new systems can be developed. Second, from a EV infrastructure angle, and there is a lot of scope to increase the EV infrastructure, especially for entrepreneurs, to building a new EV infra across the region and locations, especially for 3-wheelers and commercial vehicles. And there are a lot of scope from a risk and which is more where I hire actually, and where we try protect this systems from getting hacked or being consumer data being stolen, or from all this angle, safety angle. So from all this perspective, I see a lot of career potential in EV. It is already kick-started, and then there is a scope for a lot more in terms of analytics. So you can build new softwares in building analytics using EV data, and especially for fleet analytics. You can build fleet analytics data and then share it to your consumers, right? So these are some of the opportunities which I see. Maybe if you want to add more on this area.
Yeah, I would love to hear from both of you as well.
Yeah. So because I also work with universities, I can clearly tell, I think too much of hype of computer science is there. So probably we should move towards core engineering, because I see recently a mechanical engineer got a job, but a computer science couldn't get a job. So I would recommend that core engineering is very, very important for all of us to build proper products for India.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Jnana says, that look, when we talk about electric vehicles, we're talking about magnets, motors, and the drivetrain. These are jargons not understood by computer science students. And
or me.
So technically, what I really feel is, I think going back to basics, history, mathematics, and applying that knowledge, what we call as applied, research, especially in these foundational domains, we'll go a long way, you know, by importing motors, by importing battery, and then by doing just the basic mechanical part and then saying that it is a made in India product will not really fly. So government is really mandating a new concept called as Create in India. So you do ground up basic research, and that's where there's a lot of good work happening in Indian startups now, where we see, you know, engineering skills, especially what we call as mechatronic skills, which is very much needed, which is mechanical, electrical, electronics and software, applied together with the vehicle integration knowledge, will go a long way. In fact, we actually at Dassault Systems inculcate a lot of what we call as a center of excellence for electric vehicle. We have some in Bangalore actually, wherein we educate, you know, as a finishing school to a lot of young graduates who come out of the colleges. They go through this industrial courses with certificates coming out of us, then they become job ready in these kind of OEMs and startups.
I also don't want to create controversy that don't do computer science. What I wanted to tell is interdisciplinary skills is very, very important. Even if I have seen a civil engineer doing semiconductor design today. So a computer science engineer doing mechanical design today. So what I would recommend is learn interdisciplinary skills, which is very essential for product building.
Already on record. Okay. Thank you so much. I think now we would love to open the questions to the audience because we would love to hear from you. But yeah, but I think this was a pretty insightful session. I had some of my questions answered for sure, and I have access to you guys backstage for some of them which are not answered at the moment. Yeah, we'll very soon open the questions to the audience.
Well, I must tell that I am an audience to this wonderful panel discussion. My question, which I personally feel from a range anxiety perspective, is that I've been told for iPhone battery, don't charge it before it comes below 20%. And then, you know, that's why I wait patiently. Similarly, when I apply to EVs, how do you tell us to plan our charging cycle routine, right? Because should I goes below 20%, and what if I don't find a charging point, right? So how do you help me with this problem statement?
As I told you, in the last 2.5 years, I have only charged 3 times outside. I have always charged at home. Why? Because of the planning. Second thing is, as you rightly told, I only charge 95% to the battery. And I also, since I plan it well, it also helps me that even if it is 20-30 kilometers in the battery, I know because it's a reliable vehicle. As he told, I have made a choice of a reliable vehicle, because of which I know even 20-30 kilometers what is showing in the odometer is right. So then I will, that 20-30 kilometers, I'll get into the charging bay and charge it at home itself. So far.
Let me answer that a little bit technically.
Yeah.
So a little bit technical. I think it's very important for people to drive to understand, you know, what goes behind. When you plan a car for, you know, what we call as drive cycles. Drive cycle is everything in an EV. So that's number one. Then it is basically charge cycles. You know, the way it goes up, the full charge, and basically it goes down altogether. And the driving conditions also has a base. What do I mean by that? If you have a flat road, the state of charge of the battery is, you know, is pretty nominal. But if you are going uphill, you know, uphill the battery will consume a lot of energy. So you got to be a little cautious with regard to the trips which you are taking in guard sections and things like that, because the uphill and the downhill, the battery, you know, will not give the same set of efficiency in terms of buying. So when you understand the cycles of driving, drive cycles as we call it as, and it has an impact on the battery charge cycles, you'll be able to optimize it and as he said, plan well ahead in terms of planning your locations of the charge points. The battery, you play between 20 to 85. That is what is the standard nominal thing as we're calling it as. Basically, like before going to the reserve, like in diesel, you basically make sure that you have things up and running.
Also, I think somebody from the EV sector told me once that you should never have two fast charging back to back. It's better to alternate your fast charging and your slow charging to increase the health of the battery. But again, I think it's so important to talk to experts, CVs, and sort of understand how to extend the battery life, which is also very important for the health of the vehicle and the planet. Yeah.
Perfect. We have Mr. Ankur who has a question. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. So thank you so much for this enlightening discussion. As a customer, I got a lot of inputs. So next time when I am looking to buy a vehicle, I'll actually consider EV now. So I am Ankur. I run a training company based out of Bangalore since last 15 years. And from there only this question is emanating. I was reading about what is happening in this sector. Being a very fast growing sector, we are seeing a lot of skill gaps happening both on the hard skills as well as the soft skills side. So I want to understand from you elite panelists, what do you think the ground realities are with respect to skilling?
Okay, so I can answer that. So practically we hire thousands of people, right, year on year. And I sincerely believe there is the industry is expecting, and from what many of our colleges are passing out, right? Some of them, for practical reasons, colleges have subject like artificial intelligence or including battery or including many other topics, but they do not have the faculty who can train them, right? Because these are all new topics, and then they call it maybe AI, but maybe AI was only one or two topics, and then actually they studied the same engineering which we all studied, right? So this is actually happening in many of even some of the top colleges I'm talking to are facing these practical challenges. So that is where this industry and academic collaboration becomes very, very crucial, where industry is also working with the academy and also help academy in terms of preparing the future students, future engineers, more relevant to what the industry is expecting. So this is something happening. So even we are engaging with a lot of academy, and then I also see many of the academy also actively engaging with industry. So there is definitely a skill gap, and then we have a really long way to go. But I see few things happening, right, which is positive.
Perfect. We have Mr. Dev here. He has a question. Over to you.
Hello, sir. Hi, I'm Dev. Currently, I'm operating a small fleet of IC engines. So I have around 5 vehicles in my fleet. So I'm planning to shift the entire EV. But the problem I'm facing here is the capex. So when you see a 20 feet which I own in IC engine is costing me around 16 to 17 lakhs on road. So the same, if I consider it as a 10 feet on an EV vehicle, is costing me around 16 to 17 lakhs on road. Yes, I'm not paying tax, but the capex what I have to invest to get the same money for a 10 feet is different. When I consider it as an IC engine, the 20 feeter will give me a different money. So is there any gap that I can consider for a long run in perspective of capex, which I initially invest? But the money what I can get out of the 10 feet is comparatively less. Do you have any answer on this side of the calculation, what you told when you consider a car? That is the question I'm asking.
Do long driving only to airport.
No, we operate as a fleet.
Yeah.
So we are giving the query what I have is we are functioning between the FMGCs for the mid-mile deliveries. But if I calculate, this is not what I'm getting on.
Yeah. So if you operate it for airports, you will be profitable. If you operate on a, what you call very short distance, it will take long time for recovery. It's simple, what you call mathematics. There's nothing technologically, as he told, battery as a service is the only way that you could solve it. But if you want to have an earlier ROI, long drives is the best to recover your money that you have invested. I don't have any other answer for that. Yeah.
Perfect. The next question's by Mr. Madhu. Over to you.
Thank you all of you for a very enriching discussion. My question, probably it's related to after sales service. Most of the customers, I hear it on Instagram, LinkedIn, posting their problem not being resolved on time, tagging the OEMs like Tata Motors and many other OEMs. So why is there delay? How OEMs are tackling this? And also, if instead of having EV, if I had a ICE vehicle, if it had broken down, I would have just gone to any mechanical shop. They would have probably resolved my issue. But that's not the case with electric vehicle. I'll have to reach out to OEM. How can we, or what are the plans that OEMs and in general government of India looking to upskill the mechanics to repair EVs as well?
No, I think you touched a very, very important point. There's a body in Government of India called as ASDC, Automotive Skill Development Council. So ASDC does periodically analysis of the market with regard to the after-sales service, design of a car, and then, understand the skill gap. The biggest change which is planned is to really how do we ramp up the ITIs from going beyond mechanic of a normal IC engine towards being a mechanic to be able to operate a battery operated vehicle is just change. Are well informed in terms of the battery and the motors and everything as such as a separate knowledge, but it will take its own sweet time, number one. Number two, I think to switch and bridge this gap, what some of the OEMs are doing is they're going digital, in the sense, instead of depending only on the experience, they're creating videos of how to assemble, disassemble, what not to do if there's a battery leakage, for example, what is the issue with the motor, depending upon the sound coming in. They're creating work instructions and then they're putting it on YouTube channel or anywhere particular stream, so that you put a QR code on a particular part, you should be able to see a video of that particular assembly, disassembly of that particular component. So they are in a way democratizing the knowledge of how to operate a battery in an after sales service. But I think it will take some time to really stabilize, where every mechanic across the corner will be able to really be ready to able to help you with the EV vehicle altogether. There's a shift necessary there.
But I think we are making strides, because I've personally, in the past month come across at least 2 startups who are just going to focus on, especially if there's a breakdown, then how to get it picked up, how to get it repaired ASAP and take you back on the road. So I think we are making strides. We have some way to go for it, but we can stay optimistic, I think.
Perfect. We have time for a couple of questions more. Anybody here has any questions? Yes, sir. May I know your name, please?
Myself Krishnamurthy sir. First of all, I thank all of you, your idea of sharing your good knowledge with all of us here. So it has given us great insight into EV industry, which of course today it is the top of the city. My question is, sir, suppose I want some entrepreneur, he wants to set up a 50 kilowatt or a 100 kilowatt EV charging station. What is the cost of investment that one has to make, and what's the period for ROI?
I can answer this question, because a 50 kilowatt charger, I know a 250 kilowatt charger would cost you 20 lakh rupees. Maybe a 50 kilowatt is anywhere between 12 to 13 lakh rupees from whom you are buying. If you have to recover 20 to 13 lakhs of investment, and plus wherever you are installing, and then monthly, it's a long way, sir. So until we take the government subsidy, it's very difficult to recover at this point of time, because if you see, minimum you have to charge at least 10 vehicles or 15 vehicles in that particular charging station to recover. So today the number of vehicles are less. Obviously the economics doesn't make sense if for installing one charger and buying a 50 kilowatt charger.
Yeah, but what's changing, I would like to add is, I know some of the companies, I don't want the name of the startups, what they're doing is aggregation of charging points together. That's sort of a demand, so that there's an app which can help buyers, like Gnana, who can look at the nearest charging point quickly. So this aggregation of the charging point locations, with the supply and the demand gap bridging, like other aggregators, this is coming, and it could be a great opportunity there. When that happens, then the ROI will become much faster, because individually, if nobody knows where is your charging point location, you don't have the capacity to advertise about that particular charging locations in a particular thing, then you will be invisible for the customers like them to come to your particular charging point. So the more aggregation, the more aggregators connecting the supply and demand and bridging that gap will improve the access and more revenue, which will reduce the time required for deriving the ROI of that particular capex investments. Actually, that is the direction the industry will go.
Perfect. One last question, if anybody has. So, you have a question? Any question? Any reality that you want to know? Any myth that you want to break today? Any question? You have a question? All right. I think that was wonderful. Over to you, Srishti.
Awesome. Thank you so much to the wonderful audience here and for asking some of those very in-depth questions. I think I'm pretty positive about the EV landscape in India. As a journalist, I cover EV, I cover recycling, and I cover renewables, and to sort of see that entire segment being so intercorrelated and interdependent makes me very optimistic about where we are going as a country. As a final thought, I would like to add that, look, fuel prices are ever so changing with the geopolitical situation that we are in, right? With clean energy and battery energy storage systems being the next big thing, I think adopting to EV is, at this point in time, it just makes a practical decision. It feels like a practical decision. I'm personally also here recceing to buy an EV myself, so I'm hoping that I can find something that I love. And again, thank you so much, gentlemen, for that in-depth knowledge, and I think for breaking down the economics of EV and busting some myths literally today. Thank you.
Wow. To the moderator and to the panelists, dreams, aspirations, pocket, income, so many doubts, and then we finally have the myths and reality checks which we had to revisit. Thank you so much for clarifying many of those, and special shout out to the beloved audience for asking those very, very interesting questions. And Shrishti, hats off to you for, moderating this session really, really well. Can we all give our beloved panelists and our moderator a huge round of applause, everybody? I repeat, thunderous round of applause. I cannot hear you. I still cannot hear you. Perfect. Now I kindly request Mr. S. Divakar, Business Head at NewsFirst Kannada, to kindly come forward to give a token of appreciation to our moderator and beloved panelists. First and foremost, Shrishti Kukreja, co-founder, Gen E. Come on everybody, can we give a huge round of applause? And Mr. Gnana Kumaraswamy, MD, Request Mus. Mr. Sriharsha, Senior Sales Director, Growth Industries, Dassault Systems. And Mr. Vivek Venugopal, Executive Director, Cybersecurity for Emerging Technology, PwC India. Let's all join. Divakar sir, I request you to join for a group picture. Well, this one is for the moderator, Gen E, with a smile. Thank you so much, everyone. Please make sure you let your friends, colleagues, family members about the EV Ready Summit, which has already begun since morning until the 23rd of February. And tomorrow we are going to dive into some very interesting topics. We're going to talk about sustainable driving in Namma, Bengaluru, EVs for a cleaner city. We also are going to have a panel discussion on EV opportunities in India, education, skills and startup ecosystem. Those of you who are aspiring to have a career in the EV ecosystem, you should definitely participate in this panel discussion. We are absolutely delighted to host EV Ready, Karnataka's largest EV Expo and eco-friendly initiative by NewsFirst, supported by the Ministry of Heavy Industries, Government of India, a platform that brings together innovation, technology and sustainability. Presented by Tata EV, Tata Motors Commercial Vehicles, co-presented by Mahindra Electric Origin SUVs, Mahindra Last Mile Mobility, super powered by Ashok Leyland, Switch, powered by Kia Motors, MG Motors India, EIM, Energy in Motion. Special partners, Ather, TVS, Vida powered by Hero, Eka Mobility, VE Commercial Vehicles, Piaggio. Radio partner, 92.7 Big FM. Supercharging partner, KPTCL and Bescom. Road safety partner, Karnataka State Road Safety Authority and Transport Department, Government of Karnataka. Thank you so much everyone for being a part on the day one. The day is super duper young. I request all of you to visit and check out all the vehicles, the latest technology which is kept for display, and there are some amazing opportunities, discounts and test drives happening if you're planning to book your dream EV here at the EV Ready largest expo at Karnataka.
ಕೆಲವೇ ಕ್ಷಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಆರಂಭ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಬಂದಿರುವಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗಣ್ಯರು ಕೂಡ ಮುಂಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಸೀಟ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಆಸೀನರಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ವಿನಂತಿಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತೀನಿ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ವೇದಿಕೆಯ ಮುಂಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಕ್ಯಾಮರಾ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಹೋದ್ಯೋಗಿಗಳು, ಗೆಳೆಯರು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ವೆಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತೀನಿ. ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಶುರು ಮಾಡೋಣ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಚಪ್ಪಾಳೆಯ ಮೂಲಕ.
A warm welcome to all of you to EV Ready, Karnataka's largest EV Expo, an eco-friendly initiative by NewsFirst, supported by Ministry of Heavy Industries, Government of India.
ಪ್ರಕೃತಿ ರಕ್ಷತಿ ರಕ್ಷಿತಃ. ಪರಿಸರವನ್ನ ನಾವು ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಪರಿಸರ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ರಕ್ಷಣೆ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಕಾಯುತ್ತೆ, ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಉಳಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಧ್ಯೇಯ ವಾಕ್ಯದೊಂದಿಗೆ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ತನ್ನ ಪರಿಸರ ಸ್ನೇಹಿ ಅಭಿಯಾನದ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಬೃಹತ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋ ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇದು ಇವಿ ರೆಡಿ, ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ಅತಿ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಇವಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋ. ನಾಳೆಯ ಶಕ್ತಿಗೆ ಇಂದೇ ಚಾಲನೆ, ಹಸಿರಿನ ದಾರಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ. ಬದಲಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಹವಾಮಾನ, ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಇಂಧನ ದರ ಮತ್ತು ಮಾಲಿನ್ಯದ ಸವಾಲುಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನ ನಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಕೈ ಹಿಡಿದು ಮುಂದೆ ಸಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಆ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನದಲ್ಲೇ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಕ್ರಾಂತಿಕಾರಿ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ ವಾಹನಗಳು. ಈ ಹಸಿರು ಕ್ರಾಂತಿಗೆ ವೇದಿಕೆಯನ್ನ ಕಲ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಈ ಅತಿ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋ ಇವಿ ರೆಡಿ.
Once again, a warm welcome to all of you to EV Ready, Karnataka's largest